go ahead and call this meeting in order. First item is roll call.
Alderman Arnold.
Here.
Alderman Bray.
Here.
Alderman Cleaver.
Here.
Alderman Knox.
Here.
Alderman Mills.
Here.
Alderman Skinner.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Okay. Next item will be invocation led by Pastor Wayne Geiger of First Baptist Church, followed by a pledge of allegiance from Alderman Cleaver.
Father, we're so thankful for this beautiful day that you've given to us. Thankful for everything. Recognize every good and perfect gift you do. We honor and praise you. We do know that there are many people going through difficult times and suffering. For healing, blessing, provision for them. Father, we're thankful for the opportunity to be here tonight. Pray for wisdom and grace, all that's said and done, all for your honor and glory. Thy name.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item is approval of the agenda.
No changes, Mayor.
Next item, we have a police officer oath of office for Jennifer Murphy.
I know, we always are.
So, repeat after me. So, I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States and the state of Missouri, that I will observe the provisions and the ordinances of the city of Green Valley, and that I will faithfully discharge all of my duties as a member of the Green Valley, Missouri Police Department. So help me God. Thank you.
She can lean against this.
All right, next item is public comment. We ask that citizens who wish to address the board come forward to the podium or microphone. Please make sure you've signed in with your name and address for the record. Have anyone who wishes to address the board this evening?
Yeah, it's right there.
Yes. And then if you would, with that mic, hold it a little bit close just for the recording for later, if you would, please.
On.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is David Pinion. Unfortunately, you probably know where I live and who I am. I'm in the corner of Dean and Snybar. Apparently, there's been an ongoing issue with my collection of cars and motorcycles over the past few months, weeks. I guess there's been an issue with me parking a few cars in the backyard occasionally. I do this sometimes just because I run out of space. The driveway's fairly good size, but I still run out of room. It just seems safer to put cars in the backyard than it is to park them on the street and feed traffic. My house sits on an odd corner, and it's difficult to see around that corner, and making that narrower, just that roadway narrower, didn't make a lot of sense. So, there was also a question about privacy fences. It's my understanding that my house, prior to me owning it, had a privacy fence, and that was removed due to visibility issues around that corner. I was actually told by the previous owners that the city of Green Valley actually helped pay for the fence in that location that was picketed so that people could actually see through it and make it safer. I'd love to put up a privacy fence, but I can appreciate how dangerous that corner is because I live there. And honestly, people drive way too fast down Snybar. I've complained about that in the past years too. Get much done. I understand that part of tonight's meeting has to do with a Facebook post that was posted about me. Just for clarifications, the woman that posted that, that was a false or fake Facebook profile. She is actually the wife of a friend of mine. They are going through a very nasty divorce. I'm not really sure why she lashed out at me other than the fact that him and I are friends. When I called her out on that, she immediately deleted that entire post. So I'm not really sure what she's just mad at me for some reason. Just thought I'd let you guys know for some clarifications on that post. Other than that, thank you. That's all I said.
You can just put it down. Thank you.
Mark, are you aware of any site issues there? I mean, I don't. This is
Before my time.
yes, I never called either, so I don't. Is that something we could look at and give him an answer if there's an issue if the site distance there? I mean, okay.
Yeah, it's a hard corner to see around coming
Is
off
it?
of, Dean.
Do you recall that there used to be that?
That I know there used to be a privacy fence there now.
Our setback ought to take care of that, though, shouldn't it? The
It's-
setback law, shouldn't that take care of that? We
Not
just,
necessarily on corners. You can have the setback side, but there's still sight distance triangles.
If this is what I'm thinking of, it's kind of an odd shaped corner there, so.
Comes around the bend.
Speed was monitored more closely on Snybar, there wouldn't be an issue. It's scary how fast people come through there. And actually, the corner of my fence has been wiped out by a kid at Mustang this last year.
oh, the famous kid in the Mustang.
4 4x4, with a 4-foot thing down behind it, it almost pulled his car. I can't hold it down his car much like that. So I would probably go.
Anyone else who wishes to address the board?
When we upgrade this room, we need to soundproof.
I'm here tonight just to, reinforce a point. Myself and two neighbors, we understand there's discussion that started going on about restrictions, changes, and controls in our backyard. We understand that side and in front of the house, and back, that's kind of our property, and as long as it falls within normal realms, we want to make sure that that's considered. I've been a resident for 29 years. And I don't see the problem. I like my little bit of my own freedom in what I do. People that are really concerned about all of this, there is homeowners associations that probably should consider that, particularly for the city and specific things they want to see. Or, I think that's one thing really must be taken into consideration. Restricting residents of the city can definitely have an effect on the city when it comes to your city, etc. But I've been a resident for 29 years. I know my neighbors object to any sure that.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
I'm here tonight. I'm also his neighbor. I understand we're considering a new thing on trailers. What they're parked on.
I think with the, if you're talking about the parking in the rear yards, of previous business,
I guess so, yes. Where they were going to be parked on concrete. New,
that hasn't really been discussed yet. That's what they're kind of discussing tonight, if they want to move forward with anything. There won't actually be a vote tonight on it.
okay. What do we hope to accomplish by changing the new rule? What is the end game?
We've had residents reach out regarding it, so the board's going to discuss if it's something they would want to move forward with.
Regarding
Parking in the rear yards.
parking anything?
That'd be up to the board to decide, yeah. I mean, we've had residents reach out about parking anything in the backyards, correct? Saying that they wish to not have that, so the board's going to discuss that.
What I remember was we were here a year and a half or 2 years ago for the same thing. And I talked to somebody on the board and they were going to require a concrete pad in the backyards. Is this familiar at all?
That could be an option. The board may decide not to do anything. I don't know.
I was just curious what the if we didn't have some restrictions or some type of thing in place, why we are going after something new, that if there's not something existing already that we could enforce. And if there is something new, who's going to enforce it? Those are my questions. All right, thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the consent agenda.
Motion by Alderman Skinner to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Bray. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yea.
Hey,
Okay.
All,
Yes.
all opposed, nay. They made me switch it up. They want some nays. Joe wants some nays.
Have a nay. Don't say aye when you mean nay.
I told you I was gonna miss them all off.
It did. We need a script.
All right, next item is previous business, parking in rear yards. Introducing. We, Ken and I placed this back on the agenda after we had several emails regarding parking in rear yards and had a couple board members reach out to, I think it was about a year ago. It went through planning and zoning and then came to us, and we didn't move forward with anything at that point really with it. So we just wanted to see if anyone's thoughts had changed on that due to things we've heard and from a couple of you reaching out. We did talk with Joe, since it's been a decent period of time, it would be something that would have to go back to planning and zoning again. So it wouldn't come straight to us. So that's good. We're trying to see if there's interest in the board to have this go through planning and zoning again. If so, we'll do that. If not,
There is on my part. I've had several calls from people and have voiced their concerns and about cars being parked in the yards, Sea-Doos parked on the side of houses, you know, things like that, you know. So I'd like to see it go back to planning and zoning and be discussed.
I'm just the opposite. You know, we discussed it before, in a person's backyard, as far as I'm concerned, is their backyard. If you live in an addition with a homeowners association, that's their job to take care of it. If you don't have a homeowners association, well, sorry, that's the city's. But I see no reason when somebody has a camp trailer or park their pickup or whatever else in their backyard, that's their backyard. You know,
Yeah, but it goes beyond that. People parking 5 or 6 cars. Next, you're gonna have, you know, like shipping containers, I think, which was discussed before, and that's the concern of people I've talked to. 4 or 5 cars, what are you gonna have next is cars back there they're robbing parts off of, almost, you know, everybody wants a nice, decent neighborhood, and you also gotta think of the neighbor too, of, you know, what they
but
see.
there's codes in effect that handle, you know, dismantling a vehicle or whatever. We talked about this 25 years ago. And I came up then and voiced against it. They didn't want campers parked in backyards. I've got a pad that at that time I put my camper on, but it was still in the backyard. You know, I understand they don't want them in the front yard and everything else, but I'm sorry, that's a person's domain.
I agree with Alderman Knox. I don't think the backyard is our domain. I do think that it would be appropriate for the city to strike some sort of balance with possibly the number of vehicles that could be stored in a yard. Obviously, we don't want people's yards looking like scrap yards, if we can avoid it, unless there's in other words, if there's an obvious safety issue or along those lines, maybe we could have an ordinance that kind of outlines and cuts in what is and isn't allowed. But a flat out ordinance against it or ban, I don't think is proper, especially for things like campers and Sea-Doos and boats. Not all of us have 5-car garages that we can park these things in.
Well, I don't know if we're talking about a total ban, we're just talking about sending it back to planning and zoning so
Right.
it can be discussed, maybe
I think that's
what
gonna
can
be
we come
just
up with.
completely
what-
split, because we're trying to rebrand our city and go a different direction in the future, so we need to come up with something that's crystal clear and in black and white. You know, we had talked about whether it be a certain pad for an RV, but, I mean, we all have backyards. We all live in a city that we want to make it look good. We're trying to redo downtown. You know, we invested a lot of time and energy on this. We need to, it's 2023, we need to stop living in the past and go forward. So I'm with you. Alderman Cleaver.
Alderman Arnold.
There, you know, again, you know, crossing the frontage of a property is, I think, going past our legitimate opportunity to control what's going on in the deal. There are certain things that can control some issues at what goes in that backyard. If somebody puts a disabled vehicle and can't move it around, it's gonna have grass grow up around it and so forth. So we have weed ordinances to deal with that and so forth. the areas that people have spoken to me live on 2-acre lots, very well maintained, and they have trailers and they have tractors or they have vehicles in their backyard, and it's well maintained. I think that if we have the ordinances in place to deal with that one particular situation that might violate a neighbor's discretion as to what looks nice in their neighborhood. As the gentleman spoke here, probably a lot of what got brought up was from a malicious and fictitious posting on Facebook about somebody putting vehicles in their backyard. He has good reasons for that, for safety of not putting too many vehicles on the road and the street, hampering his neighbors from being able to have some place to park. All the vehicles were functioning and mobile, and they weren't there very long. They're gone. So it's one of those transit things that we're looking at instituting a rule that will affect people and their ability to do what they want to do with their property. And I think it would be an step to us to go into that further.
Yeah, you take people with boats, but what do we want them to do? Pay storage? You know, it's their boat, it's their backyard, let them put it in there and park it if that's where they want to park it. You know, I have real heartburn over telling somebody that what they can and can't do. It's not a safety issue, with their own property.
Well, again, everybody seems to take it to the extreme then. If we don't have something in place to say, well, hey, you can park one car in your backyard, or you got to have an improved surface to park your car in the backyard, or, you know, then, because the deal is there's 10 houses on the block and you got one that's parking 5 cars in the backyard. Or, you know, same with RVs, you got 20 houses on the block and you got 2 people that have RVs, you know, but 15 people don't want to see the RVs. 15 other houses, 5 houses don't care. 15 houses would prefer not to see all the vehicles, all the, you know, RVs. So again, we're allowing kind of the small to dictate to the larger group.
It was brought up earlier to where somebody said that the people that are concerned about this should move somewhere where there's an HOA. It's a 2-way street. There's also the county you can live in where you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can park everything.
And this was brought up before this supposedly Facebook page come out. People have been calling me for months.
To the point of the
Voicing this
RV,
again.
I would much rather see an RV parked on the side of the house or in the backyard of the street
Yes,
than
and
in
which
the
is-
driveway with 4 cars in the street that we can't get around.
Well, it's already approved for the side of the house, you know, on an approved surface. You know, I don't have an issue with that. It's what you're seeing in the backyards. You know, again, like with anything, it just seems to flourish, get out of control if you don't have something in place. You know, and that's all we're asking is saying, let's take it back to planning and zoning. Let's look at this and see if there's something that, you know, can come together on.
And I think if planning and zoning is going to take a look at this, I mean, I think the lot size needs to play into this as well. I mean, if we're talking about, you know, a residential lot that is 100 foot by 90 foot, we probably don't need to be parking cars behind it. But if it's, you know, if you're on a 2-acre city lot, it's a little different. You might have an outbuilding or something back there, and you're parking cars back there. So I think that, you know, this thought of, you know, what's in my backyard is the government doesn't need to worry about it. And we do already. You know, Alderman Arnold mentioned, you know, our weed ordinances. We don't let somebody's backyard just grow 5 foot tall. It is their backyard, but we do go in there and we enforce that. It's a part of our ordinance. So, I mean, there has to be regulations, and I do agree that if it's 1 or 2 residences, you know, maybe that shouldn't, you know, a new ordinance should be created by that. And I also think that when it comes to like the campers and the boats, you know, maybe this needs to be some sort of permitting process. You know, during the summer months when people pull their boats and their campers out of storage, you have to let the city know, like, I'm going to be parking a boat back here. It has to be out by the end of September. But I'm in full agreement that people's backyards don't need to have 5 or 6 cars sitting in the back of it. It's an eyesore. There are parts of this city that don't have an HOA. They've been dissolved. They've never had one. And your neighbors don't have a recourse. It hurts people's property value. And again, I'm talking city lots. You know, if you're on 2 or 3 acres, I think that changes everything. I think if you're on 2 or 3 acres, just because you're in the city limits, your neighbors aren't right on top of each other, where a lot of our city neighborhoods, you are living right on top of people. And we have to be considerate of that, even though it's sitting in your backyard.
Joe, do we need a motion and send it back to P and Z or?
Right, I mean, the board always acts by motion, so, if there's gonna be direction given to staff as to go one way or the other with this, Mayor, you should, entertain an emotion one way or the other. Usually, motions are, in favor of doing something. If there's a second, it is voted on, and then depending on the vote would be the direction that we would take as staff.
So I need to make a motion to send it back?
If you're wanting
I want to make a motion to send parking in the rear yards back to planning and zoning.
I have a second.
Second.
Alderman Mills. Any discussion on the motion? I guess my question is, are we just gonna let them, goes back to them, let them look at it and present us back with what they're thinking, or?
That's my thought. Planning zoning, look at it.
No, currently, privacy fences allows parking in the backyards, and that was taken out of what they were proposing in the last round. If somebody has privacy fence, that they wouldn't be allowed, even then wouldn't be allowed to park something in the backyard. And I think that, some leeway's gonna have to be given here. People spend lots of money to buy these items. They may not have the money to park them and pay someplace to store them, but they've got ample parking in their own backyard. As long as they maintain the area there and the piece of equipment they've got there looks like it would anywhere else. It's not beat down. We got several businesses that make a living, and people here that sell campers and so forth. And, I think it's a little bit anti-camper, anti-boat, representation from the city to not allow people to keep their items close where they can maintain them, make sure that they're not secure and not going to get broke into, and that they can get it ready when they want to go someplace. So,
Yeah, I mean, I would like planning and zoning to look into lot sizes when they make their consideration, and also the privacy fence side of it.
I would prefer that if this goes to planning and zoning, that whatever they come back with is a compromise and not an outright, we're not gonna allow this. If I have one project car in my backyard that I'm working on with my 60-year-old kid, I'm fine with somebody having that in their backyard. If it's not overgrown and it's not unsafe, I think there needs to be some.
And I would just say, anytime we're talking about zoning changes like this, it does require a public hearing at planning and zoning and the board, so it's not, there is ample opportunity for the public to speak during that time.
So my assumption would be that if it does go back to plan and zoning, you're probably looking at some type of workshop first to come up with what they would propose, and then there'd be a public hearing at another meeting, I'm assuming, probably.
So if the board decides to give this back to the Planning and Zoning Commission, we actually have a meeting Wednesday night. So during other business, I was going to bring that up and ask the Planning and Zoning Commission what their preference is, if they want to discuss it in a workshop type format, maybe at their July meeting, but then not hold the public hearing until their August meeting. That's an opportunity for the Planning and Zoning Commission members to come up with some ideas and suggestions other than the one that was previously recommended by them. But I'm going to leave it to their discretion.
Yeah.
And Mayor, it probably makes sense that, aldermen that have heard from constituents one way or the other should report that information to you or to Mr. Murphy. They could gather that information, get it to Mr. Trozen as a piece of that, so that at least there's some direction from, what we're hearing from constituents on both sides with respect to, what goes too far, what's not far enough, that type of thing from a feedback standpoint, so that we have something that we can prepare as staff, even, instead of just dropping this on the planning commission with no, instruction or no information. It'd be good. I mean, you all are asking staff to do this, if assuming that you vote that way. But if you are asking staff to do this, then it makes sense for you to give them some direction as to which way they should take it with the commission.
Those planning and zoning meetings would be July 12th and August 9th.
Is that the second Wednesday of the month?
Yes.
That would be correct.
Let's have any discussion on the motion. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Roll
Can we
call.
do roll call for
Yep.
that? So Alderman Arnold,
No,
sorry, give me a second. And Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Bray,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
No.
and Alderman Cleaver.
Yes.
Thank you.
4-2. All right, next up, see no additional previous business, we have new business. We have requests to approve 2023, 2024 liquor license renewals for the following businesses in the city of Grand Valley. We have Slinger Saloon, Iron Courtyard, Casey's Marketing Company, number 3325, number 2808, and number 2209. Captain's Pub LLC, Iron Kettle Brewing LLC, E&B Theaters Operating Company, Quick Trip Corporation, JY Amigos doing business as El Magway, Temp Stop, Outer Belt Entertainments, Bri Daji, Impact Motorsports, Dolgan Corp, Costantino Enterprises, and El Ticliazo Cachina, Y Cantina. I get them all?
Yes.
All right.
So all of these companies have submitted their liquor license renewals on time in a timely manner. There are a few outstanding items, as always. Jackson County is typically one of the last things that I receive. They need an approval letter from us first, most of the time, before they will release that county license to us. We do not release or provide our certificates or our licenses until everything is received. They have till the end of June to provide that. These were reviewed by Chief Turner to make sure there haven't been any infractions or issues or anything with the particular establishments. Everything is in good order, along with the police department. He recommends approval, and I do as well.
We don't have to do a motion this time, next time, right?
A motion, and it just goes once, since it's a renewal.
Oh, it's on.
Yep.
Okay. So I entertain a motion then to approve these licenses.
I move we approve the licenses.
Second.
Second Skinner. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Passes 6-0. Seeing no presentations or public hearings, we'll move on to resolutions. First one is R23-43. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with Jackson County, Missouri for the distribution of combat funds of $85,867 for the 2023 fiscal year.
I'm sorry. I move that we approve resolution number R2343.
I have a motion, Alderman Skinner, to approve resolution R23-43. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this would be the annual agreement that we'd have with Jackson County for the distribution of combat funds. So this would be Grand Valley's share of the anti-drug sales tax county.
Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay. Oh, sorry. I said aye. Your yes threw me off.
6-0.
That's on you.
It wasn't me, it was him.
Dale's yes threw me off.
6-0.
Dale went, yes.
All right. Next up, resolution R23-44. Resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into an update agreement with IDEMIA for live scan services.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution 23-44.
I have a motion by Alderman Arnold to approve resolution R23-44. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this would be entering into an agreement again with LiveScan. This is the digital fingerprint software So this is what allows us to transmit to the State Highway Patrol and FBI when needed.
Any questions or discussion? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. 6-0. Next up, we have resolution R 23-45, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing installation of 11 new streetlights in the Rosewood Hills 10th and 11th plat subdivisions.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 23-45.
I have a motion by Alderman Bray to approve resolution R 23-45. Do I have a second?
Second.
Knox. Heard him first.
Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, these would be the two newest phases of Rosewood. As you remember from the past, when a developer comes in and develops a subdivision, they pay a fee per light that is going to be in that subdivision. And then when they get to the point in development where they're ready, hopefully in a timely manner, Evergy will go and install those streetlights. But that fee that they pay offsets some of that cost for a certain time.
Questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. 6-0. Next up, we have resolution R 23-46, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing installation of 3 new streetlights in the Greystone Plaza second plat subdivision.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 23-46.
I have a motion by Alderman Cleaver to accept resolution R 23-46. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Knopf. Any discussion? This is more streetlights.
Just what I said last time, but
Yeah,
in
more
different
streetlights,
subdivision.
different place. All right. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up, we have resolution R 23-47. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to enter into a cooperative agreement with the Grand Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution R 23-47.
Motion by Alderman Knox to approve resolution R 23-47. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Mills. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, our previous agreement was, you'll remember, was with the Grand Valley Partnership, which was a mix of the Chamber and the Economic Development Corporation. Over the course of the last year, the board for the partnership kind of, as you could say, took a look in the mirror and wanted to make the decision to focus on what they thought they could best do, and that was the chamber side of things. With that, we have modified our agreement with them. If you remember, when it was the partnership, we had budgeted $25,000 for that. This current agreement is for $10,000 to focus on those chamber type activities, to really get them out there and do everything they can to support existing businesses and new businesses that are coming in, to really be able to focus on that and help them as needed. So this would be a 1-year agreement.
We budgeted correctly, $25,000 when they were repaired. Now we're gonna give them $10,000. Is that gonna leave $15,000 with the other group, or is the other group going away?
No, this would replace that agreement. So in part of this is that other agreement goes away. So they are going back to the Grand Valley Chamber of Commerce.
So we're coming out $15,000 ahead, is that what?
Yeah, so in essence, this is funded out of the tourism fund. So there's other, to make that decision at that point, what to use those funds for.
Will there be any other group that's taken up that additional work that they're dropping?
No, the reality is the city themselves we've taken that role on the economic development side. So this is just basically looking at it and trying to fairly support that group for the work that is being done.
And a lot of the EDC stuff's really being done by the developers themselves. I mean, we reach out and ask them, and they typically, they're doing their thing, so.
Can that 15,000, I don't know if this is the right place to ask, can that 15,000 then be rolled over towards the police department?
Towards the police department?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the tourism fund, so in essence, like most of the the dollars in there, if you think of like marketing type things for the city, that's kind of anything that could bring people in, that's that side of it.
It's established by what, the hotel occupancy tax, so that one goes into it.
It's kind of earmarked for tourism being that comes in underneath the tourism tax.
Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. That's it for resolutions. On to ordinances.
This is the second reading of Bill number B23-19. This is an ordinance establishing a new chapter of the Green Valley Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 145, Public Record Request Policy and Procedures.
Mayor, I move that we accept the second reading of bill number B 23-19 and approve it as ordinance number 2425.
I have a motion from Alderman Cleaver to approve Bill B 23-19 for its second reading, making ordinance 2425. Do I have a second?
Second.
Skinner. Any discussion?
I still have a couple of questions on that. I asked for a little more clarification at the last meeting. And it was explained that we do a lot of paperwork that wouldn't want to make available, so this would make those closed records. And that section also reads that if someone does a request for some of those closed records, the Board of Aldermen would have to meet to approve giving those records out. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Is there a specific provision you're asking about, like a section or?
That's in section 7 of that particular set of guidelines for that. Because it sounded like when you commented the other night, is that day-to-day operational paperwork would become closed paperwork after this. And later in that statement, it states that the Board of Aldermen would have to approve any request for those closed documents because we're closing those documents by this action.
So when you say day-to-day paperwork, that's not exactly correct. So
What you said.
that is not what I said. So what I would say is that records of the city that can be closed by the Board of Aldermen, so they fit into an exception to the Sunshine Law, would be closed. If they do not fit into exception to the Sunshine Law, then they would not be closed. To the extent that they could be closed, this section closes them. And then to the extent that they would need to be opened for any reason, then the board would have to meet to do that. So, for example, economic development, outside of whenever the Board of Aldermen is considering the terms of an economic development agreement that haven't been fully negotiated yet, economic development, otherwise, the documents related to that would be open records. So you wouldn't have anything that would be closed in that point. So, but if you were in the process of negotiating a contract for economic development and you decided as a board that you wanted, before the contract is signed, to allow, the public, the developers to see, what terms you're negotiating before that would require a vote of the Board of Aldermen, because that would be a record that could be closed under subsection 12. And by this procedure would be closed, because again, there are thousands of documents that are generated by a city in any, given week or month or whatever. And to the extent that, and so what this policy does, and what the policies of cities all over the state do, is to say that when they can be closed, they are closed.
Okay, I know some documents are closed through the process, as you stated. When those situations are finalized, such as a document I got here from the State's Attorney General giving an explanation of the exceptions there under litigation, states that, records and votes must be made public when the matter is finalized when it comes to litigation.
Correct.
That not necessarily been our practice for the city. I know our executive session minutes are signed and off by the mayor and stuff, but those executive session minutes that these votes are taken are not placed on the, along with the other minutes that we have posted on our website. And I think to maintain transparency, those things, we need to follow those guidelines that we make those available, as opposed to someone having to ask for these items by sunshine request and subject themselves to some of the requirements that's going to be in this particular document, where we have to pay a set amount based on how long it takes staff to come up with the paperwork, actual cost for printing, and so forth. I think if it's something that states that must be made public, it shouldn't require a sunshine request to get it made available. It should be automatically placed out, just like the rest of our minutes, and just like, you know, anything else we do. It states that the same for real estate and we do that with real estate when we vote to buy or purchase and finalize those actions. We do it in open meeting and so forth. So even agreements and so forth for hiring, firing, and promotions and demotions must be made public 72 hours after they're taken. But all those things, if we do them in executive session, remain closed to the public under current practice and not made available to the public on our website as any other minutes that we have. And if sunshine law says these must be made public, why aren't we making these public?
So the sunshine law doesn't require any sort of an active measure for the city to push these out. As a matter of convenience, on records that are clearly not closed and are regular records, like open meetings of meetings, they're just regularly posted out there. The thing with the closed records, like closed minutes for executive session and things like that, the timing of when they become open can vary. You know, you might go into a closed session and talk about 3 different topics under 3 different exceptions to the sunshine law. So if you talk about a matter of hiring, firing, discipline, of promotion of an employee, as as Alderman Arnold correctly stated, once the final action of that is taken, then within you're supposed to let the employee know immediately or as quickly as possible after the meeting, and then within 72 hours, the records are made open. There's never a point where the city is required to actually put something out onto a website or whatever. It's a matter of practice. So truly, any record that someone wants to request from the city requires a sunshine law request, open, closed, or indifferent. What happens when the request comes in then is the city clerk will process it. Many times she will just know whether it meets the sunshine law exception or not. And this policy directs for the city clerk, how to make that decision without even involving our office, for example, on matters that are, it's not clear or the timing might be different. Then the question typically comes to us to say, is this a record that can be disclosed, should be disclosed? Do we need to redact information from it? Do we say that the record, in full is not available? And so decisions have to be made about that. And so it's not easy to just simply say, we're going to post these minutes, of a meeting, because, you could have multiple items in there that would be treated in different ways.
And I can understand that as well. We could redact what is not releasable at the time when we do post other portions of the meeting, or maybe we should change our format where we talk about them in different meetings, so that there would be different separate minutes for each of those issues, instead of piling on a dozen different things in a meeting, and that could cause problems there. But I think our policy should be one of transparency, that the public should know what we're doing with them and for them, with their money and without their money. I think, a change of making information available when it is available to be given to the public is a policy that we should follow and institute.
Joe, are any other of the cities you work with, do they, as part of their practice, automatically post these?
None that I'm aware of. Not outside of like open meetings, so forth. I mean, there's a ton of open records that come into the city every day. We don't post everything on a website either. And whether that's, you guys or the 70 other cities that we represent, I mean, it's just that's not a common practice. The Sunshine Law sets up a policy, a procedure for individuals to request the records, and we respond to those regularly. I would assume, if not daily, weekly, Ms. Logan gets requests.
Yeah, because I personally requested, I don't know, I need to go through an official deal about what our cost for our litigation with the election board was. And have not received that as yet. That type of stuff be a closed record and require a sunshine request. That's day-to-day
So,
operational
the
expenses.
sunshine law, you can request a record. So if you request a record with respect to, the city attorney's bills, for example, those are completely open. We can provide those. The sunshine law does not provide the ability for a citizen to come in and say, why do you do this? Or, what is this? Or go out and create this document. Or it has to be documents that exist, essentially. So, as far as if you're asking for the city attorney's bills, yeah, they're completely open. You can just request those.
I just still having difficulty of the way you've explained it, what would be open and what would be closed, because I could foresee need for non-alderman meetings, but somebody's requesting a closed document that has to come to us for approval to release.
So that's why this board operates as a whole, as opposed to just one member at a time. If you have a request for a document that you need as an alderman, you can request it as a citizen, or you can have your spouse request it if you want to do that. But you can make a request and get the document. If you want the board to release a document that is closed, then your responsibility as an alderman is to bring it to the remainder of the board, make a motion, get a second, and get a vote on the matter.
I have one question. If somebody makes a request for a sunshine request on document and it's deemed that that's not gonna be let out, are they told that, or are they just left hanging?
We're required by the sunshine law to send a response to that person. So when a sunshine law request comes in, the city must at least acknowledge the request within 3 business days of receiving the request. So if a request comes in on Monday, you don't count Monday. You count Tuesday, Wednesday, and then by the end of the day, Thursday, no matter whether the request came in on Monday at 8 a.m. or 5 p.m., you have to give you have to acknowledge. You say, we are in receipt of your request. Sometimes cities, it's something that's very simple, and by that 3rd day, the records request is fulfilled. Many times it will require work by city staff to actually, maybe potentially make copies, or it can be a lot of documents, where in that circumstance, the answer could be, Mr. or Ms. So-and-so, we are in receipt of your request. It's going to take an additional 14 days to identify the records that you've requested. Once we have those records, then we will, we will give you an estimate as to what it's going to cost to actually produce those records, and you can come in and pay for the records that you're requesting. You have to make that payment beforehand, and then the records request is produced from that standpoint. But if we are going to deny a record in any way, we do have to respond with that, and we have to cite the section of the sunshine law, the exception that would apply, that would say that why that is a closed record.
Is that also within the 72 hours?
Not necessarily. Like I said, you could make a request that would ultimately be 1,500 emails, for example. Okay, some of those emails might include emails where department heads were talking about the termination of an employee. Certain of those would not be releasable. Some of those might be legal advice from the city attorney coming in to say, one thing or the other. That's protected by attorney-client privilege, those types of things. So with that, you may go through and identify, of the 1,500 that might take a week to pull that together, that 1,495 of them are completely open and releasable, which we would produce, and then the other 5, we have to say, why we can't release those.
Thanks.
So it may take more time than just the 72 hours, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Actually, not 72 hours. Well, it is. It's 3 business days.
So for any type of, say it's evidence that was involved in like a crime. Okay, let's, heaven forbid, we have don't even really want to say it, but we have some sort of tragic event that takes place in our city and it's captured on like body camera footage, right? It's going to be used in a criminal prosecution. It's evidence of a crime. Can the board make a decision on releasing that if it's city property?
Police records are a different animal. So on the records that are outside of police records, those are the ones that the board kind of has discretion as to whether to close them or not. When it comes to police records, the Sunshine Law is written differently, and it essentially says these records shall be closed, where on the other types of records, they say may be closed. So many times a police record is not something that the board has the discretion to release. So that would be outside of this. These policies are designed to cover in the event that a record can be closed. This is, kind of a prophylactic process for the board to essentially say, we generate, thousands of documents. And so we're saying that to the extent that they can be closed, they should be closed. Keep in mind that the General Assembly provided these 20 plus exceptions to the Sunshine Law, essentially because it's good public policy to protect the city in certain circumstances from having information get out. Real estate, for example, we've talked about this before. If you're in the process of negotiating a land sale, of a piece of the city's property, and you say, well, we'd really like to get $500,000 for it, but we'd be willing to take $250,000. If you had to do that in an open meeting, you won't get a dime over $250,000. Okay, you just won't. And it's not in the city's best interest, not in the citizens' best interest, because at that point, that is a piece of property that is owned by the citizens of Grain Valley, and they need you to get the highest dollar possible when you're selling it.
So for clarification, request comes in, we got 3 working days to acknowledge the request.
Correct.
Is there any language as to how long, is it just a reasonable time frame before we actually provide the documents?
The case law on it has changed somewhat recently. There was a fairly recent case since Governor Parson has been governor. It was Gross v. Parson. And it used to be that the city could just say, it's going to take us longer, that's it. And so there, in the Gross v. Parson case that came out just a few years ago, what the court said in that circumstance is that, well, the city can't be ambiguous about that. They have to say, we're going to get it to you in a certain amount of time.
We acknowledge they
So
will have
now
it to you
we-
in 15 days.
Right.
Or 30 days, or 80 days.
Right. And it needs to be reasonable, clearly. I mean, I've got situations, again, you guys have a very sophisticated staff here, great people to work with, and they're here, and you've got, deep bench, and you've got people that back it up. I've got some cities that their city staff consists of a full-time city clerk and a part-time parks guy, or a part-time, guy that does all of the public works, issues, okay? Sometimes they're not even open 5 days a week. They open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for City Hall. Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're out taking care of their chickens or something, I'm not sure. But so, and that the Sunshine Law has to be written in that way. There are over 700 cities in the state of Missouri. Some are, millions of people, and some are, not even, out of the tens in their population. And so it has to be flexible in that way.
I had a question. So at the last meeting, there was a motion made by Alderman Arnold about the signage in regard to this ordinance at the front of the property. And I think there was confusion during the vote process. And I know that I did not vote. And I rewatched the video, and I know there's others on this board who did not vote. And my question is, can we recall that vote on that motion for a new vote?
You can make a motion, change it passed, so you'd have to make a motion to rescind it, to rescind that part.
Okay. I make a motion.
I know I didn't vote either.
I make a motion to rescind the motion.
Hold on.
Right.
Let me, I want to make sure that I remember exactly what we did on
This
that.
is regarding
Was
this
the,
ordinance.
what's the last part? You didn't the hard copy. It'd be the motion that a hard copy of the agenda will be provided in the bulletin board on the outside of the building, I think is what they're referring to. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, hang on. Catching me without my parliamentary procedure book with me tonight. I believe it is a motion to rescind an action previously taken.
Do I make that motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion to rescind a,
It would be essentially to rescind the vote to modify section 8 of the proposed ordinance.
to rescind section 8 of the previous motion for the record request policy and procedures.
Just the last sentence, right? Not the whole section. All right, I have a motion from Alderman Skinner to rescind the vote that was taken last time on that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Mills. Any discussion? This would be on the motion to rescind, not the actual ordinance yet.
What do we want to rescind? I know what the discussion was.
So the line that was added was, because we have the notice board located in the city hall vestibule on the digital notice board, and notices are also to be posted on the city's website. What was added was a hard copy of the agenda will also be posted in the bulletin board.
So the paper copy that goes inside the bulletin board outside City Hall.
That's what Alderman Skinner is wanting to remove?
Yes, he's wanting to remove the hard copy on the outside.
Well, and the reason why I'm making this motion is because I don't think the votes were taken down correctly. And it's nobody's fault. I think that the way that the vote was stated.
Mayor, if I could on that. So keep in mind that as aldermen, you all owe a duty to your constituents to vote on every matter, okay? You have the ability to abstain, okay? But I will recommend to you that you should never abstain unless you have a true legal conflict of interest, it would create nepotism problem or something like that, okay? So if you have the opportunity to vote and you do not vote, then the way it is treated in rules of procedure is that your silence is counted in the majority. My recollection, I wrote that was a 6-0 approved vote that evening because there were votes in favor, there were no votes against, and there were 6 board members sitting here. So to that extent, it was correctly recorded because no one abstained and no one voted no. So I think that's a point of clarification that's necessary. So if you have a situation where you're not wanting to vote yes, then vote no, because you got to be heard on that, and you owe that duty to your own constituents that you vote on the matter because they put you in office to speak for them.
Yeah, and there was just confusion on the way it was stated. Like,
Yeah.
Was it,
the way that
was it proper that was a voice vote, not a roll call vote?
Yeah, that was.
It was.
Yeah, that's proper.
I made my motion.
We got a second, so. Any discussion?
The issues still stand that was there that evening when I brought this up last. The preferred and recognized and recommended process for notifying maintenance in a physical statute placed on a prominent spot in the business or city hall where the meeting's going to be held is what is recommended by the state's attorney general. I think that the video TV screen, placed 7 foot up on a wall, fails to meet some ADA requirements of making it easily accessible to people who would want to view what's on there. The fact that we run a number of other items on there that interferes with the time period that the minutes and or notice of meeting would be placed up there for people to be notified. If it's not happened to have the notice up there, when you look up, you see some other advertisement or some video about the city, you move on and don't even know that the posting has taken place. We have the facility available. We're not talking a huge cost, just print off the pages and go out there and post them in the bulletin board. It's a more controlled process with a stamp on it as to when they're posted, so that there's no question when they were placed in the bulletin board area to be viewed. They're accessible 24 hours a day. without any interference, whereas on the video monitor system, there is interference with other items that come up on it and take time away from them being posted for 24 hours prior to a meeting. I don't see why this is a huge issue in just going a step farther to make sure that our public has no concerns or complaints, that we're notifying them of meetings in every way fashionable available to us to keep things open and transparent.
I have to agree with Alderman Arnold. The more we can do to get it out there, the better off we are.
Do we place anything else in that? Whatever we want to call it, bulletin board here. I mean, is there any other stuff posted in that?
I don't believe so anymore.
So the only thing we put in there is the agenda. My only thing is, I mean, if we're not gonna do that, then I think we at least need to have I mean, if we can remove that thing, put some type of permanent, like acrylic signing up that says where the agenda can be accessed. You know, that it can be accessed via the monitor, hard copies inside City Hall, or even the link to the website where it can be accessed. I mean, I think we would at least need to have that out there. But it could be a permanent, like acrylic sign that we put up in place of the. I know, you know, there's been some struggles with the bulletin board and the eyes and the wasp and everything else. So
You know, people that work here, it's their day job, they're working it every single day, and we hear their struggles on why this doesn't work, and we need to account for that.
any other discussion? Okay, this will be on the motion then to remove that portion of the hard copy. So all in favor to remove the hard copy portion, please say aye.
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 So,
Well, all opposed to
Nay.
leave it like it is with the hard copy would be nay. That's confusing, but. So if you want the hard copy, you're a nay. If you don't, you're an aye.
Nay.
Nay.
So yeah,
4-2.
4-2, okay. So 4-2, that is removed then. We need a motion for a permanent sign? We'll just do it.
Well, I have to say, I'm disappointed in our board. We have worked hard in our community to keep our public informed. That's why when you look at our website, you see our agenda for our meeting and all of this extra information available on there so that we don't hide anything from the public. We let them know exactly what we're talking about and all the information that we're gonna be making that decision on, and to take away any avenue and take actions like we're doing tonight to make it more difficult for people to know what's going on in our community, I think is an error.
We need a motion for the sign if we want one. So if we were wanting to place a permanent sign out there with the locations of the agenda, we will need a motion to add that to the section. If not, we can move on to the actual ordinance vote.
I move that we instruct city staff to move the monitor and make it more visible to address the PDA issues, bring it down to a lower height, and possibly increase font size or delay the scroll speed. I don't know if that's proper to do now, but that would be my suggestion.
Okay. That wouldn't have to be in that, but that could just be a motion to do it, right? Yeah, that
We can just do it. I don't know that wouldn't be part of your policy. I think
Yeah,
it
when
would
we
just
part
be-
of the policy, we can just direct staff to do that. Now, if we want a permanent sign on the outside to direct where they are, we would need that in the policy. Someone interested in that or? No,
And that's something the city doesn't have to go out every single.
no, just be a permanent sign saying this is the location where you can find the meeting agendas.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we have a permanent sign affixed to the side of the building that has the location where the agenda will be located.
Second. Okay.
Ms. Bray?
Any discussion on that motion for the sign? Right. Seeing none, all in support of the sign, please say aye.
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 If you're against the sign, you'll be nay. Right, So now we're back on to the original ordinance then, 2319, Bill
That's
2319,
6-0 on that
ordinance
vote, Mayor.
2425.
It was 6-0 on that vote, correct?
Any other discussion on the actual bill for its second read?
I'd like to table this one for a workshop. I think there's still a lot of questions about this, and we need to make sure that we're completely understanding how in the inner workings of this and get a better explanation. I think it'd be necessary for all of us to be better informed so we can abide by it.
I got a motion from Alderman Arnold to table, Bill.
It's a motion to postpone to, and we need to, like, would it be at the next
It's not a
meeting,
table,
or-
postpone.
Table is when you move something from one part of a meeting to another part
Okay,
of the
so-
same
okay.
meeting.
So
Motion
we
to
got a motion from
postpone,
Arnold to postpone Bill 2319 until it can be
the
further.
second reading of,
Second reading until it can be further discussed in the workshop. That. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Knox. Okay, okay, this will be discussion on the motion to postpone. Any discussion, questions?
Well, I disagree. I don't think we need to postpone.
I have a question for everybody sitting out there. How many of you knew about this meeting tonight because you went outside and read it in that little thing? Or did you see it online? Or did you see it up there? But if I could get somebody to answer my question, did you find out about tonight's agenda? In the little city app? Did anybody else go out to that little stationary spot and look for the agenda?
I'll make my daughter go. Does that count? Alright.
So just to clarify the vote,
This vote is to postpone now. There's been a motion to postpone.
okay.
That's what we're on now, not the actual ordinance, but the motion to postpone. Okay. Any other discussion, questions on it? Okay. All in favor of postponing this? Aye.
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 All in favor of not postponing, be nay.
Nay.
2-4. Get 2-4, Joe?
correct?
All right. So now we're back on the original bill 2319 for its second reading. Make it ordinance 2425. Any additional discussion, questions on it? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Roll call.
That'll be roll call, yep.
Okay, so Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Nay.
Alderman Skinner,
Yes.
Alderman Bray,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Arnold.
Nay.
4-2.
Okay, this is the second reading of Bill number B23-20. This is an ordinance annexing certain real property that is contiguous and compact to the existing city limits of Grain Valley, Missouri for the Grain Valley Safety Storage LLC.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve second reading of B 23-20 and bring it back as ordinance number 2426.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Knox to approve Bill B 23-20 for its second reading, making ordinance 2426. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, this will be a roll call.
Alderman Arnold,
Yes.
Alderman Bray,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner.
Yes.
That's it for ordinances. Next up, city attorney's reports.
No report this evening, Mayor.
All right. Next up, city administrator and staff reports.
Mr. Trozen.
Mayor and members of the board, we have our annual Public Works Community Event coming up. It's Wednesday, June 21st, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. So I encourage all citizens to come out and meet our Public Works staff, community development staff. It's located at Armstrong Park. We're going to have live equipment demonstrations, fun activities for the kids, free food, Papa Murphy's Pizza, snow cones, popcorn, and more. Hope to see you there.
All right, and the only other thing we had, just wanted to remind you that next Monday, the city offices will be closed on June 19th for Juneteenth, which the board added as a holiday. And then in front of you is the 2022 annual report, and we will get that out on the website as well. But look that over. It's kind of just an overview of where we were at in 2022 and what we saw. That is all staff comments.
All right. Next up then, Board of Aldermen reports and comments. Alderman Arnold,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Mills,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Bray,
I'd like to extend a thank you to Chief Turner and police officers. The citizens on Hilltop have reached back out to me and said they have noticed an increased presence. They appreciate it.
Alderman Skinner.
Are we ready for another motion? Okay. So I was approached by a citizen. It's been several months that we've been talking. He's located at the newly annexed 4112 South Buckner Tarzany Road. Or is that North Buckner Tarzany Road?
South Buckner
So
Tarzany, no, it's
confusing.
north.
Okay, so confusing. Definitely a good one to change. About hunting that property, there's the church property, and then next to it, there's a 10-acre lot that there's like a small shed on. Other than that, it's kind of wooded, open field. And he's wanting to archery hunt on it. Spoke with city, spoke with the mayor. We all kind of mulled it over. And then at the last meeting, the person who lives there, his name's Dale Smith, came up and we talked to myself and Mr. Cleaver over here, and he, made some good points. And so I kind of thought about it a little bit more, and I got on the phone. I called the conservation agent in Jackson County, Derek Cole, and I asked for his advice on this topic. Agent Cole stated that our surrounding cities, to include Kansas City and Lee Summit, all allow archery hunting within city limits. He stated some cities have it where you need 5 acres, others have it where you need 10 acres. The Conservation Department was in support of Green Valley making an ordinance to hunt in the city due to overpopulation of deer in our area. Agent Cole advised that there is a need for conservation in urban environments as long as hunters are following state conservation laws. He's in full support of our city adopting an ordinance to help conservation efforts in eastern Jackson County. So the motion that I would propose would be an ordinance that sets for establishing a ordinance for hunting inside the city limits of Green Valley, that you would have a minimum property size of 10 acres to do this, that you are required to be 120 feet from the property line to hunt. I propose that you would need to be 450 feet from any school, church, or daycare. I don't know if I need to say all this stuff, or if that's something you guys come up with. I would also have the ordinance state that the hunter has to hunt from an elevated position of 10 feet in height to direct any arrows towards the ground when fired. And then again, all hunting is limited to archery. And then also we have if we adopt that, we'd have another ordinance that would be in conflict, which would be 215-420, as that outlaws archery within the city. So that would need to be adjusted as well.
Joe, is that something that would need to go like planning and zoning or anything first?
Probably not. Those are usually going to be health, safety, welfare type ordinances. I don't know that for a fact. I don't, Mr. Trozen, do you know?
Section 215?
It doesn't sound like that's in the zoning code.
No.
400. Okay,
400,
yeah. So
yes.
400 is our zoning chapter. Those have to go to P and Z, but anything outside of that, health, safety, welfare does not. So on that, I think it would just be a motion to direct staff to prepare an ordinance regarding hunting on large acres. And then, Alderman Skinner could submit the information to you, or this city administrator, and staff could get to work on putting that on if that's what the rest of the board wants.
All right, so I got a motion from Alderman Skinner to direct staff to archery hunting on large
10 acres
spots?
or more, yeah.
Second.
I'll let Mr. Knox have it.
Any discussion? Motion to direct staff?
I would actually go down as low as 5 acres, but 10 acres is fair.
We can do that at the time we do the ordinance.
I know, I'm just putting my opinion out there.
We can look at what the other surrounding communities have and when we present one, so we'll, see none then, all in favor of directing staff to put together the archery ordinance, we say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, be nay. Alright. Alderman Skinner, if you could send that stuff to
Absolutely.
Ken and
I think I
myself.
have most of it.
Yeah, most all right. All right. You have anything else, Alderman Skinner?
Oh, that's it. No, no more motions from me
All
tonight.
right. All right. Alderman Knox.
I have nothing.
All right. Alderman Cleaver.
Nothing.
Just one thing. I talked to Ken about this earlier. I'm going to bring it up here, so the multiple emails I got today will know I addressed it. So apparently we, not us, we didn't think ahead, but Ryan Road resurfacing. Apparently every child in Green Valley is going to summer school over there. Caused, I guess, a pretty hectic, you might have saw it firsthand, traffic disaster. I had some not so happy people reach out. So I don't know. I told them, hey, we don't really schedule these things. And usually the high school and middle school are like at the high school, but due to the construction at the high school, they moved them all out there. So there's a lot more kids out there off Ryan Road during summer school than normally is. Did the milling all get done today? Is that going to be the most disruptive part? No. I don't know if there's anything we can do to try to make it a little easier because it's all parent pick up and drop off.
Ken, is there anything we can do on Butler Tarzi to alleviate the traffic that temporary light is causing?
That was my next thing.
I have a kid in summer school, so I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
Did you get caught in the milling
I've
thing?
been caught on both of them now, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's anything we can do or not. I said I would just bring it up in case there was. I don't know.
Well, the contractor's scheduled to do the milling and paving this week on Ryan Road. So
Okay.
that's
so
the schedule. What they're basically doing is they're milling and paving. So you'll probably see the start of the paving tomorrow.
Okay.
What they're trying to avoid is any kind of cold pavement joints. So they're milling and paving, so they pave the sections. So when they bind both the lanes, it's with a hot seam versus a cold seam, which extends the life of the street. I'm not, they have a traffic
I told
plan.
them I didn't think there's a whole lot we
They
can
have a
do.
traffic
There's-
plan in place, so they follow that traffic plan that was provided.
Does the increased traffic because of summer school going to affect the quality and the
No.
longevity of the asphalt that's being laid?
No, they'll make sure those vehicles stay off those sections that they're paving until the pavement is ready to be driven on. And typically, as you know, it's not that long after they complete the paving, vehicles are on it.
and then
So,
next-
so just short of, which I don't want to recommend to the board, stopping the contractor from doing their work and schedule. Because once they move off and
so they should be
and
done by the end of the week.
demobilize, yeah, oh yeah, they'll be
Okay.
done with Ryan Road, weather permitting, hopefully this week.
Okay. So,
Summer school will be open by the end of the week too.
There's
All
two
worked
more.
out then.
It's only 2 weeks.
No, it's 4 weeks.
Is it 4 weeks? Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, it goes like in the June, I think. Yeah.
And I mean, when we try to schedule these things too, it's
Well, we didn't realize
essentially,
all that was gonna be
well,
going
yeah, I
on
was gonna say,
either.
essentially, we try to get them out as early as possible now with the weather being good. 'Cause, we used to wait later in the year
Yeah.
and almost have the opposite problem of going back to school, but this gives everything more time to settle with nice
But
temperatures versus
typically,
the
it
winter
wouldn't
coming.
be as much traffic out there, but since they're doing work at the high school, I think there's a lot more kids out there. I know it's probably nothing we can do, but as Alderman Bray brought up, that temporary light there for the library. It's causing some headaches too, I think, but
So
how
Buckner
fast they're gonna
Tarsi
get that
is
turn
a
lane
county
done?
road.
Huh?
Buckner Tarsi
Yeah,
is a
the
county
temporary
road.
light they put in, they can
And
get that
so
turn lane
the
installed.
county approved that traffic plan in regards to the light. So is there a problem with the timing of the
timing-
light or
feels
just
really
the
weird.
backup?
Yeah, the timing's weird. I think sometimes
See,
it's
we
like-
can ask them to look at the timing again. We asked them when they first installed it because we were having problems with the backup on it. I mean, I don't mean to pass the buck to the county.
We've been a part of the review process on the traffic control. What they're doing is they're adding a right-hand turn lane to go into the library. Then they'll shift and go south. They'll widen a part of the pavement on the east side of Buckner to Arseny to create a left-hand turn lane into the library. The purpose is there's a ridge
Oh, so
there.
they're gonna switch and do it on the other side also?
Well, yes,
Mhm.
because you gotta have to have the left-hand turn because there's a hill there. So you want to make sure
that's-
you have
That's
proper
right. I didn't think
sight
about that.
distance and move those vehicles off of Buckner Tarsney into a left-hand turn lane to go into the library.
Probably be a kind of lengthy amount of time then.
It'll probably be to August.
I think the problem is, I think they're trying to work with the next stoplight down and trying to, so that you don't stack up behind that next light and interfere. But the timing, I don't want to exaggerate, but I literally feel like I set that stoplight for like 5 minutes the other day when I went through there. It took a minute, for sure. So I think there's definitely a timing issue.
Okay. We could definitely share that.
Sorry to dump on you tonight.
No, that's okay. I mean, that's the whole purpose.
I caught him earlier
I can
about
just
people
pick on
U-turning
Mark
in
tonight.
Starbucks. I've been on him.
That's a part of progress.
One of the things that I'd like for us to consider, and staff have to take care of, occasionally bring in a street sweeper unit to clean the streets and so forth. I think I might have seen one here not too long ago. That stretch of road, especially for the bridge, everything up past the bridge and where the library is, we've got a lot of dirt and debris that's piling up along the curb, partially blocking the drainage there and so forth. And while I know and understand it's counties, is there something we could do in getting that cleaned up when the library process is, because that's kind of, the front door of our community from everybody coming in from the south, and the better that looks along, the better it would appear for our, we're trying to clean up the town. It'd be nice to see that a little better maintained.
Yeah, we can visit with them.
That is all I have. We have a need for an executive session, correct?
Yeah, one litigation to real estate.
So I will entertain the motion to adjourn into executive session then.
So moved.
Knox, have a second? Skinner, any discussion? All right, so we'll be roll call.
Alderman Arnold,
Yes.
Alderman Bray,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner.
Yes.
We'll adjourn the executive session.